Nilesh sir, thank you so much for joining in and welcome to the show and a very happy Independence Day to you. 77 years of independence. What is exactly independence for you? What does it mean to you?
So thank you, Kavita, for having me here on the Independence Day. Independence has different connotation. For an individual, it is ability to do whatever he or she likes. Don't depend on someone else or don't depend upon someone else financially.
Right.
For a company, independence means you are globally competitive. You don't require subsidies. You don't require crutches. For a nation, independence means you are able to do what you want to do for your citizens without worrying about the rest of the world.
Right.
So independence have different connotation, but one common theme, you can do what you like without worrying about what others will say.
So, talking about completing 77 years of independence, if India, if I have to imagine India as a 77-year-old investor, how would you look at that investor's story, struggle, or success story?
So if we look at our history, almost all peers have outperformed us.
Right.
In 47, we were at par with Japan in per capita GDP, 60s at par with South Korea, 80s at par with China. Today, they are all way ahead of us. Why did that happen? Well, they followed certain path of economic policies, and we chose a different path. But post 1990, we started accelerating. From 2014 to today, we have moved from 10th largest economy to 5th largest. We are on the way to become 3rd largest economy in next few years.
Right.
Our market share in global GDP is up from 2.6% in 14 to 3.7% today and should cross 4.5% in few years. So undoubtedly now there is speed in India's development, India's growth, but we have a long distance to cover.
Exactly.
There are 3 Indias. 1% of Indians living like French citizens with that kind of per capita GDP. About 30% of India is middle income.
Right.
But 70% of India is still sub-Saharan Africa.
Right.
Those are the guys who have barely met roti kapda makan. We need to ensure that they get access to quality healthcare, education, and other things. So we have a distance to cover,
Right.
but the confidence is that this time we have picked up the speed, there is acceleration.
So, a lot needs to be done, definitely, but then the journey so far, what according to you have been the important and the most crucial pillars of development for
The
India?
development of India is entirely attributable to its entrepreneurs. These are the peoples who are modern day Abhimanyu. They fight not only the curves, which is the market volatility, China dumping, raw material price movements, infrastructure bottleneck, but sometimes they also fight the Pandavas, which is regulatory burden, compliance burden, uneven policies. And despite that, they have created growth. In areas like two-wheelers, generic pharma, IT services, services exports, Indians are globally competitive brand. People trust us, people respect us.
Totally.
We need to now replicate this success across many, many other industries.
Right.
So the growth of India is entirely attributable to entrepreneurs of India, the modern day Abhimanyu who are breaking Chakravyu and winning the war.
Would you call yourself a person who is financially independent?
Yes, I will call myself financially independent,
Okay.
though I'm still not doing whatever I wanted to do.
And what is that?
So today, like if I want to spend 10 days in Vipassana, I won't be able to do it because I have a job to do.
Right, yeah.
So yes, I'm financially independent, but not that kind of independent which I should be.
So when we talk about financial independence as a concept also, it looks like it's interlinked with a lot of other things, right? So in your case, it's also the responsibilities that you've tied yourself with, and without completing those responsibilities, you won't be able to achieve what you have maybe. How complex is this entire concept of financial freedom and financial independence, or how easy it is?
So it is easy as well as complex. It is easy because at the end of the day, all of us need roti kapda makan.
Exactly.
It is complex because as Indians, most of us have come from the position of very, very less.
Right.
We had always struggled.
Yeah.
Queued in ration shop queue. I have waited for things to book
Happen.
and get after 10 years like a telephone line. So somewhere in our mind, even when we have reached more than what we need, we are still driven by our past.
Right.
We are anchored in deficiency, in deficit.
Right.
I guess the next generation is far better. They are far more financially secured than, let's say, our generation.
Right, right. So when we talk about financial freedom, when we talk about financial independence, if you have to recommend a financially independent portfolio on this occasion of Independence Day to a Gen Z, okay, who will be a rich millennial maybe in a few years, to someone who's middle-aged, and to someone who's almost close to being a senior citizen, what would that be?
So one for all three of them,
Yeah.
income minus expenses equal to savings is not the right equation.
Okay.
It is always income minus savings equal to expenses. पैर उतने ही लंबे करो जितनी आपकी चद्दर बड़ी हो. Second, please follow regular investment.
Right.
Little drops of water make an ocean. Second, be a long-term investor.
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Your portfolio cannot be built and deliver return in a day. And third, don't put all eggs in one basket. Be disciplined asset allocator. But covering all of that is one most important thing, that is equilibrium. You need to balance your greed and fear.
Right.
A Gen Z, a millennial, a senior citizen, all will be driven by emotions. When everything is looking bad, don't get tempted by the fear. When everything is too good to be true, don't get lured by greed. Maintain equilibrium. If you follow these 5 things, income minus savings equal to expenses, regular investment, long-term investment, disciplined investment, and equilibrium, I think you have reached nirvana in financial.
Talking about your financial habits, or talking about the way you understand or the kind of relationship you have with money, any particular habit or any particular thought with which you thought, I really need an independence from, I need to just free myself from this particular concept or habit or anything?
So while I preach people to maintain equilibrium between greed and fear, I am not the best example of following it.
Achha.
I still is driven by emotions.
Right.
Most of the time, my daughter is able to say, looking at my face, Papa, aaj market upar tha ya niche tha.
Oh.
Emotions are very much part of our DNA. And as long as I'm cognizant of my emotions, hopefully my decisions will be more rational.
Yeah, yeah.
In some sense, everyone has like Saurav Ganguly, he was Maharaja of the offside, but not necessarily that great a player on the onside. But he developed that onside in order to become a successful player. If he had remained Maharaja of the offside, then he would not have been as successful cricketer as he was.
Right.
Same way, we have certain natural positivity, some natural offside. But there is also onside, which is where our emotions overtake our rationality.
Exactly.
We need to be mimicking Saurav Ganguly in playing and mastering onside, even if it's not our natural side.
Right. But this also needs to be done in sync with the changing environment, with changing India. Nilesh sir, we're talking about India where we are seeing Gen Zs being very money-making savvy, not investment savvy yet, but they really want to make money. And the surge we've seen in the pandemic, it really shows that they understand the concept of financial literacy, might not be able to work on it just as yet, but they are in tune with the entire function of the financial world, or at least they are keen to do that. We are looking at an India that believes in early retirement. We are looking at an India which believes in gig economy now. We are looking at an India where Gen Zs are handling their parents' or older generation portfolio. How do we tackle with this change? Because if we talk about next 77 years and the kind of vision that you presented that we should be working on, this change will be accelerated and amplified.
So one, there are clear no-nos which are not worth doing.
Okay. Clear no-nos.
Clear
okay.
no-nos.
Okay.
One, we have seen a lot of Indians losing money on Ponzi scheme.
Right.
Whatever appears to be too good to be true generally won't be true. Please stay away from those Ponzi schemes. Second, we have seen people trying to become lakpati overnight, whether it's crypto trading, whether it's dabba trading, grey market trading, gaming, lottery. Please stay away from that. Those are not the short way of making money. So if you avoid losing money, that itself is an achievement. The second thing is India is a rising tide. Whichever boat you will sit, and if it doesn't have a hole, it will get lifted by the rising tide. Now some may got lifted more, some may less, but every boat will be lifted as long as you are not in the boat which has a hole in it. In investment, which boat has a hole? Where promoters are not following appropriate governance. If he doesn't care about minority shareholders, minority partners, that boat is not going to get lifted. So be long India growth story.
Right.
Avoid boats with the whole of misgovernance, and you are done.
So with this Azadi Ka Jashn, we will also be getting into the festival season, and according to you, important triggers for the Indian market and the road ahead for next Azadi Ka Jashn.
So one, we have to overcome election 24.
Totally.
In 2004 as well as 2009, we saw markets giving reaction, at least on the election result day, when the results were unexpected. Second, most important for market is the fundamentals, which is corporate profitability. Now, there are many factors which will impact corporate profitability. If US interest rates remain higher for longer, there will be impact on our valuation and stock prices. If energy prices go, there will be impact on corporate profitability. At the end of the day, how do our entrepreneurs compete on a global market, on a global scale, and continue to make profit? This will determine where our markets go.
Talking about the concept of rise in India, because ET now strongly believes in it, and in fact the kind of story that we've been discussing is witnessing the way India has come up, you know, on a lot of parameters. But talking about the India that you want to see in coming 77 years, if we talk about the kind of sectors that would participate in this rise in India story for next few years, what would you bet on?
So all companies which are driven by promoters who have vision to do something, ability to execute it on ground, and who are not taking minority shareholders for a ride, will create India growth story and hence be a part of it. Sectorally, banks and financial services will provide catalyst for growth in terms of credit. They will generally grow at more than the real GDP growth, and hence good banks, good financial services firm should do well. In IT as well as pharma, Indians are globally competitive. Today they are going through some rough patch, but that's mid-air turbulence. Once we leave the pocket, there will be smooth ride ahead. The third is the manufacturing in India. China is very, very large player there, but people are moving out of China. We are grabbing some market share there. Any Indian company which has globally competitive product or services and which can become part of global supply chain should be beneficiary of this manufacturing theme. From chemicals to engineering, we are seeing multiple sectors where manufacturing in India is progressing well. These are some of the themes where if you back right company, right promoter, you will do well.
Last question to you, and then we'll wrap up this discussion. In the entire freedom struggle and independence story that India has, your favorite story and your favorite freedom fighter?
So politically, Mahatma Gandhi, Sardar Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, these were the idols whom we looked at in independence struggle. But when I grew up, I realized that even businessmen of India fought very, very hard to give us economic freedom. From Jamshedji Tata to J.R.D. Tata, from Ghanshyam Das Birla to Aditya Vikram Birla, from Walchand Hirachand to Jamnalal Bajaj. These were the icons who fought for India's independence in economic sense. They created jobs, they created development, they created growth. And one favorite example is how Tata's pledged their family's jewelry to raise loans so that they can pay salaries and wages in Jamshedpur. And I still remember one British mention that if Tatas will produce iron and steel, I'll be happy to eat that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Tatas have shown the Britishers that India can produce iron and steel. That spirit is the economic independence for India.
All right, and we really hope that the Rise in India story is just goes on and amplifies in the near future also. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.